The chandelier blazed above her head like a frozen storm of diamonds, each crystal shard reflecting the false glitter of a world that had never truly welcomed her. The grand ballroom smelled of champagne and expensive perfume, filled with laughter that always seemed to have an edge, as though every giggle carried a secret. Tonight was supposed to be about celebration, about wealth and appearances, but to her, it was a stage for humiliation, a stage she had been forced to step onto while her body strained beneath the weight of new life. She was 9 months pregnant, her back screaming with pain, her ankles swollen from hours in heels, but her husband's voice had been clear before they left the house: "You're coming with me. People are watching. You have no choice." She had been raised far from this glittering, ruthless world. In her childhood, love was measured not in jewels or photographs in glossy magazines, but in the smell of fresh bread her mother baked, in the way her father's hands, calloused and rough, would lift her up with pride after every school recital. When Aaron had come into her life, with his polished charm and commanding presence, it had felt like stepping into a fairy tale. He was everything she had never dared dream of: rich, powerful, confident. He swept her away with promises of safety, of a life where she would never have to struggle the way her parents had. She believed him. She believed in him. The wedding had been breathtaking, the kind of ceremony people whispered about for years afterward. A cathedral filled with flowers, reporters lining the streets, her hand trembling in his as he whispered vows of forever. She remembered looking into his eyes that day, convinced she had found not only a husband but a partner, someone who would cherish her through every storm. But forever had turned brittle too quickly. Pregnancy had revealed truths she never wanted to see. The gentle man who once held her close through sleepless nights became distant, his touch rare, his words clipped and cold. He was still there at public events, still draping his arm around her shoulders for the flash of cameras, but at home he moved through their mansion like a stranger. Sometimes she caught him smiling at his phone, his gaze soft in ways it hadn't been with her in months. Whispers reached her, whispers about Clara, the beautiful young woman who worked in his company. At first, she had dismissed them, insisting to herself that it was just jealousy, that she was overthinking, that her mind was playing cruel tricks on her because she was hormonal. But denial is a fragile shield. With each gala, each dinner, each time she saw Clara's name slip into conversations, the cracks in that shield widened. On the night of the gala, she had begged Aaron to let her stay home. Her body was heavy, her baby restless inside her, tiny kicks pressing against her ribs as if warning her of the storm ahead. But Aaron had looked at her with that hard glint in his eyes, the one that told her his mind was made up. "You're coming," he said, adjusting his cufflinks as though her exhaustion was a mere inconvenience. "People expect to see us together. Do you want them to start talking?" And so she had gone, her body wrapped in silk, her spirit wrapped in dread. The ballroom shimmered with wealth. Women in gowns the color of precious stones floated through the crowd, their laughter high-pitched, their jewels clinking like tiny bells. Men in tuxedos raised glasses of champagne, their conversations a mixture of business deals and gossip. The orchestra played softly in the background, a romantic tune that felt cruel in her ears. She smiled when she had to, nodded politely when introduced, but inside she felt hollow. She clutched her glass of sparkling water like a lifeline, wishing she could disappear into the shadows. And then she saw her. Clara. She was across the room, standing beneath a golden arch of roses, her crimson gown hugging every perfect curve. She looked radiant, confident, utterly untouchable. And Aaron saw her too. His eyes lingered longer than they should have, his smile curving in a way that made the whispers in her head roar like thunder. She felt her chest tighten. She wanted to leave, to go home, to be anywhere but here. Her contractions hadn't started yet, but her body was tense, every muscle on edge. She leaned close to Aaron, whispering that she needed to go. "I'm tired. Please." The baby, but before she could finish, his hand gripped her wrist with a strength that made her wince. His smile didn't falter for the crowd, but his whisper burned like acid, "Don't embarrass me." She froze, staring at him. The man she had once trusted was gone, replaced by someone she barely recognized. She tried again, her voice firmer this time, telling him she had to leave. That's when it happened. His jaw tightened, his eyes darkened, and in one swift, violent motion, he grabbed the fabric of her dress near her waist and pulled. The sound of silk ripping was louder than the orchestra, louder than the chatter of the guests. The room fell silent, gasps rising like a wave as every eye turned to her. She felt the fabric tear, exposing her, stripping her dignity in front of hundreds. She clutched her belly instinctively, shame flooding her, her cheeks burning as though the chandelier's light was scorching her skin. And then, the final blow. A sudden, sharp pain ripped through her body. Her breath caught as warmth spilled down her legs. She looked down in horror, seeing the marble floor darken beneath her feet. Her water had broken. The silence turned to chaos. Women rushed forward, their gowns swishing as they tried to shield her. Men shouted for doctors, for someone to call an ambulance. Cameras were lowered, some guests too shocked to even move. She stood in the middle of it all, trembling, her dress torn, her body betraying her at the very moment her husband had done the same. Aaron stepped back, not toward her, not to comfort her, but away, his face pale, his eyes darting nervously at the crowd. He wasn't worried about her or the baby, he was worried about scandal, about headlines, about how this would stain his perfect image. Her contractions came fast, fierce, and she realized with brutal clarity that she was alone. Alone in her pain, alone in her humiliation, alone in a marriage that had been nothing but a gilded cage. As the crowd parted to let her through, as kind strangers rushed her toward the exit, she pressed her hands to her belly and whispered to her unborn child. "We'll be okay. I promise." But deep down, she wasn't sure if she believed it yet.